Yeah, today we'll discuss about the mathematical modeling of mechanical systems and electrical system and thermal systems. So we'll go with today introduction of this. So when you discuss about the mathematical modeling, so the first step in the design and analysis of any control system, the first step of in the design and analysis of control system is to build the physical and as well as mathematical models. So a control system being a collection of several physical systems which are connected as we discussed in the beginning, and which may be the systems which you are talking about, the physical system which are interconnected, maybe if mechanical, or it may be if electrical, or it may be if electronic, thermal, hydraulic, or pneumatic types. So that we are going to study now. And the control system being dynamic systems in nature require a quantitative mathematical description of the system for analysis. So this process of obtaining the desired mathematical description of the system is called as mathematical modeling. So this is very once you know, until now we discussed of the block diagram. So we obtain from the physical system, we obtain the block diagram, and hence the transfer function. It is necessary to analyze the given system. So once you find out the physical, know the physical system, from the physical system we have done with the block diagram. Then from the block diagram, what we have done, we have calculated the transfer function. So once you find the transfer function, it is easy to analyze the given system. So, and also we did obtain, to obtain the block diagram, we need to have the set of mathematical equations describing the dynamic behavior of the system. So, and the third point says the control system being in dynamic systems in nature, so which requires mathematical description, means set of equations which represents the physical system is required. So this process of obtaining the desired mathematical description of the system is called mathematical modeling. So now a mathematical model is a linear. Of course, if the differential equation describing it has a coefficients which are either functions of the independent variable or constraints. So if the coefficients of the describing differential equations are functions of time, then we can say it is the independent variable. Then the mathematical model is, we can call it as linear time varying. On the other hand, if it is if the coefficients of the describing the differential equations are constant, which are independent of time, then we can say linear time invariant system. So in this mathematical modeling chapters, we are going to study about the what are the analogous networks which you have for the analogous to the mechanical system, analogous to the thermal systems and all those, and how to derive the electrical and mechanical analogous networks. Also, we are going to study this mathematical modeling, and also how to write the equilibrium equations for the analogous networks also, and how to solve the mechanical systems for different types of rotational, translational, and gear trains and all those derivations of the transfer function of various elements. Also, we are going to study in this chapter. So that's why we are discussing what kind of mathematical model which is present in this chapter, that is linear time varying and as well as linear time invariant. So now coming to the modeling of mechanical systems. So probably when I talk about the mechanical system, basically any mechanical system will think about the three elements. In any mechanical system, the motion can be also different types of we'll be having. One is the translation motion, and as well as the rotational motion, and as well as the combination we can have translation and rotational you can have. No, the equations which governing these motions, the governing equation motions, the mechanical system are directly or indirectly governed by the Newton's law of motion. That is second law which we are discussing here. So that's why the mechanical systems can be idealized as a spring, mass, damper system. So these are three elements which are present in any mechanical systems, and the governing differential equations can be obtained basis of Newton's law of motions. So Newton's law of motion, and considering the different types of motions are translation and rotational motions, or combinations of both. And say which states that we know that F is equal to ma for rectilinear motion, and if you convert this into a rectilinear or a translation motion, and then it is equivalent in the rotational motion is F is equivalent with the torque, and the mass is equivalent with the moment of inertia, and acceleration is equivalent with the angular acceleration. Angular acceleration in the case of rotary motion, that is linear acceleration. V is equal to, we can take it as r alpha. V is equal to r omega. Okay. So likewise, we can find out the angular acceleration as well. Then see, if you take any translation motion or rotational motion for mechanical systems, first and foremost, we have the mass and the springs or the energy storage elements wherein the energy can be stored and retrieved without the loss, and hence referred as conservative elements. So in the case of mechanical systems, mass and the springs both will be considered as energy storage elements. Energy storage elements, or we can call it as this conservative elements. And the damper represents the energy loss, means energy absorption, which is going to in the system, and hence it is referred as dissipative elements. So dampers are dissipative elements, and mass and the springs are called as conservative elements in the mechanical system. So depending on the choice of the variables and the coordinate of the system, a given physical model may lead to different mathematical models. Of course, depending on the how many variables are present in the system and how many coordinate system is there, and a given for a given physical model, then we can find out how we can get the different mathematical models for each and every system. And the minimum number of independent coordinates are required to determine completely the positions of all parts of the system at any instant of time, define the degrees of freedom of the system. So degrees of freedom need to be defined for the systems, and as well as large number of practical systems can be described using the finite number of degrees of freedom and are referred to as discrete or lumped parameter systems, Then coming to the some of the systems are especially those involving continuous elastic members have an infinite number of degree of freedom and are referred to as continuous distributed systems. So this is different types of systems which are talking about: linear time varying, linear time invariant, discrete and lumped parameter systems, continuous distributed systems. Likewise, most of the time continuous systems are approximated to a discrete systems, and solutions are obtained in a simpler manner. And although the treatment of system is continuous, gives exact results, the analysis methods available for dealing with the continuous system are limited to a narrow selection of the problem. Hence, most of the practical systems are studied by the treating them as finite lumped masses and springs and dampers. So as we discussed in general, there are mechanical systems of two types: translation and rotational systems. Of course, you can have the motions combination of these two. And in general, more accurate results are obtained by increasing the number of masses and springs and dampers. That is by increasing the number of degrees of freedom. So if I want to have the accurate results, I need to have the more number of elements present in the mechanical systems. So here we discuss about the mechanical systems. The variables that describes any mechanical system with a motion, describe the motion are displacement, velocity, and acceleration. So the variables that describe the motion are displacement, velocity, and acceleration. So displacement is nothing but dx, and then velocity is dx by dt, and the acceleration is d square x by dt square. So that is how the variables which can be described the motion. And also we have the three parameters, as we told that any mechanical system, these are the three parameters which are present: mass, damper, and the spring. So energy storage element, the conservative elements, and dissipative elements. So these are the two: mass and the spring are called as conservative elements, and the damper is called as a dissipative element. So these three parameters which will be considered in any mechanical system. What is that? Mass, which is represented by m, coefficient of viscous friction, which is represented by b, and the spring constant, which is represented by k. So now, if you look at this mechanical system, this is a linear displacement mechanical system, which is shown in this. That is, I'm applying the force F, applying the force here. We can say this is the property of the system which you can store the kinetic energy of the translation motion. And here the mass has no power to store the potential energy. And the mass is measured in terms of course, kilograms. The displacement of the mass always takes place in the direction of the applied force. Applied force means, you see here, the force which is applied here in this direction, the displacement is also occurred in the same direction, which results in the inertial forces. This force is always, the force is always proportional to the acceleration produced due to this mass by the applied force. So force, when I say it is proportional to, directly proportional to the MA, then we can say if I take this F is proportional to M, then I can take out the constant proportionality, then F is can be written as F is equal to M into d square x by dt square. Similarly, there is a damping element which is provided here. We can take the damper, that is B friction, which is going to be friction is going to be occurring that between the elements. Whenever there is a motion, there exists a friction. We'll know that the friction may be between the moving elements, and also fixed support. Of course, if you have any fixed support, or between the two moving surfaces also, we can there exists a friction. So friction is also a kind of non-linear in nature, and also we can divide into different types of frictions which I have studied. I think viscous friction, static friction, Coulomb friction, and here the parameter which you can take into the coefficient of friction, which is taken as B for the case of damper B, and this force applied, the force which you can calculate, the force required to cause the displacement is proportional to the the move. I mean, to overcome the friction, the force which are required. Opposing this what you call friction, opposing this frictional force, we need to apply the force. That force is, we can take it as F is equal to proportional to the B, that is V, proportional to the V, that is B into dx by dt. So then we can calculate all this mass Fa is equal to Ma plus Bv plus Kx, because of the three elements we can write the force equation. We can write the force equation from the Newton's law of motion. F is equal to Ma plus Bv plus Kx. This is the fundamental equation which represents this mathematical equation. So we'll go learning with mathematical modeling. So as we told that first, there are elements in any mathematical modeling. One is mass. So what is a mass in the sense which you can say, for example, as we discussed, an object having a mass is applied a force. If you apply a force in this direction f of t, then there is displacement in the same direction, which is x of t. So when I say here this mass, and also we told that the applied force f of t produces the displacement of x of t, in the direction of force. So force required, so if you calculate the force required in this case, force required to move is equal to, we have the equation that mass into acceleration. So that is why this equation, which we can write as m into a, or we can say a can be written in the motion, as we told that this can be represented with the displacement and velocity and acceleration. So m into d square x of t is the displacement, and dt square. So we can write in the differential equation, that is f is equal to m into d square x by dt square. Similarly, I can write for the spring, which are conservative elements. So here to cause the, see, I have a equation like this. There is a mass 1, and then I have a spring, and then I have a mass 2. Okay, so in this I'm applying a force here. I'm applying a force f of t here. So there is a displacement causes. Due to the mass 2 is x1 of, say for example, x1 of t, and then this is the displacement causes due to the mass 2 x2, sorry, mass 1 is x2 of t, say for example. So we can represent this in the form of nodes is like this. So we can say x1, x2 and x1. So this is the spring K. So here you can write, if there is a single element which you have with the spring stiffness of K, stiffness of K, and if I applied a force F of t on this, if I apply a force F of t on this, and it has causes some displacement, in the same direction. So that we need to calculate by using this F of t is equal to spring stiffness K into X, or X of t. You can say it is in the function in the time. So K into X of t. So if there are two elements which are mass 1 and mass 2, then it is the spring stiffness of K, and we can find out the force applied in this case. Force applied in this second case. If you look at this second case, in the second case, I can find out the force applied. F of t is equal to K into x1 of t minus x2 of t. So this is the, when there is only one spring element is there, and there are two masses are connected by a spring, and then force is applied like this, then we can find out the force applied to cause the displacement. To cause the displacement, is the equation is F of t is equal to K into x1 of t minus x2 of t. So this is the about the spring, the mathematical equations, and I can go to the friction. Next element is friction. So friction. So as we told that friction, whenever there is a motion, there exists a friction, which opposing force is proportional to the velocity of the mass. Opposition of force is generally proportional to the velocity of the mass. So the damper is represented like this. So we can say we have a system like this, and this is a mass, and here applied a force, and the displacement will be like this, x of t, and here is the friction. Here is a friction which you need to be overcome. That I can say it is the damping coefficient of B. The damping coefficient of B. So as we told that in the frictional, to overcome this friction, the F of t, the force is applied, proportional to the velocity of the mass. So if I take out the constant of proportionality, the coefficient of friction will be coming into the picture, and the velocity. So F of t is equal to B into dx of t by dt will become the frictional force. Suppose if I have two masses like this, this is a mass 1. In between two masses, have a damper is provided, say like this, and say this is M2, say M1, and I have applied a force like this, F of t. So here I can find out, this is, say for example, x2 of t displacement, and then x1 of t. So here is the frictional thing will be taken place. Frictional damping coefficient I have given as B. Okay. So here, how to calculate this force applied is equal to B into the velocity of this particular mass minus velocity of this particular mass, means we can take it as V1 minus V2, that is B into V1 minus V2. So B into dx1 of t by dt minus dx2 of t by dt. So likewise, we can write for the two elements. Okay, so these are the three, which are the elements which are present in any linear motion or translation motion. So now we'll go with writing the equations for the rotational systems as well. Yeah, rotational systems. So for the rotational system, we know that equivalent this thing, rotational, for a rotational system, because when I talk about the mechanical system, there are translation and rotational systems we have are both rotational systems. For the rotational system or rotational motions, which are in this exist in the mechanical system. So, which is a rotational motion in the sense which you can about a fixed but the motion which is about a fixed axis. We can say the motion about a fixed axis, which you can call it as rotational motion. Which you can call it as rotational motion. And we can say the force is here. We know that the force is replaced by a moment. We know that force is replaced by moment, that is moment of inertia, moment of inertia. So here we know that force is replaced by torque. We know that force is what marks into acceleration in that case, and in this case about force is replaced by moment about the fixed axis. So how you are going to calculate this is nothing but torque. That is nothing but we can call it as torque. So a rotating element we can call it as like this. So this is represented with the T. It is represented with the T. It is represented with the T, torque. Next is sum of the torques applied in a rigid body system must be equal to the sum of the torques consumed by different elements in order to produce the angular displacement theta and angular velocity omega and angular acceleration in them. So we can discuss the different elements which are connected like this. So you can have the gear, different gear systems which you can talk about are rotational elements or gear trains we can call it as. Also we can say where the linear motion as well translation motion also will be present. So if you take out a gear system, say for example it is a spur gear, and in this case, so if you want to represent this kind of system, so this is say for example T1 and theta 1, and this is represented like theta 2 and T2 and theta 2. So it means that the torque and the angular twist we can call it as angular twist, we can represent with this rotational systems. Okay, so now the elements which are in this rotational system, we can talk about only torque and then angular acceleration as well as angular displacement and all those. So here when it talks about the kinetic energy which are stored in the rotational system is called as inertia. So torque equation in this case of rotational system, which you can write as J into d square theta by dt square. Okay, so now the difference between the translation and as well as rotational motion, how the elements are converted, how the elements are represented in the translation motion, and the equivalent term in the rotational system, translation system, and then rotational systems. So in the translation system, as we discussed, the mass, and this is, we can say, inertia, moment of inertia, that is I or J, whatever it here I have shown represented as J. So I'll go with the J only here also, J. And then B, friction. Of course, the friction is also same in the case of rotational system also. And the K, spring stiffness, then this is also same here. And the force is replaced, as we discussed here, force is replaced with the torque. And displacement and velocity that we discussed here. So displacement is nothing but x we have represented in the translation motion, and here this displacement will be taken as angular displacement. We can call it as angular displacement. Okay, then here angular displacement generally represent twist. We can call it as twist, angular twist. Okay, so x angular displacement theta. Then we have a velocity. That velocity we can represent in the rotational motion as angular velocity. That is represented with omega. then acceleration, then acceleration. So which is represented here, angular acceleration, but the naming angular acceleration, which is represented as alpha, which is represented as alpha. Of course, here if we represent the same in the case of velocity dx by dt, here angular velocity is represented by d theta by dt, and here acceleration is d square x by dt square, and this is represented as d square theta by dt square. So this is how we can represent the rotational motions, and we go for equivalent mechanical system now. So what is a mechanical system we have found out now? So with the three elements which are present in that, and then when the force is applied, what and all causes due to mass, and what causes due to spring, and what causes because of the friction. So all this we have discussed, and we have written the equations for this small elements, because any control system will be having the elements present in that system. So for each element you should have a fundamental equation of the element. So for a mass we have a F is equal to ma, and for spring we have a F is equal to kx, and for a frictional we have a F is equal to bv. So likewise for each element we should know the, and also for rotational system it is just replacement of the elements which are we have told. Mass we can call it as inertia, and force is torque, and remaining friction will be same in the both case, friction and spring stiffness, and displacement we can call it as in the case of rotational angular, and linear or translation motion we can call it as velocity, and it is called as in the rotational motion we can call it as angular. So now we can go to the equivalent mechanical system. What is called as equivalent mechanical systems?
Sir, we can't see the slide, sir.
Now I'm using this OneNote. That is also not visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Oh, wait. I think it stopped sharing. Yeah. So we're discussing, I think, have you seen all this which I have written here now? Have you seen all this which I have written here?
So from displacement we can't see, sir.
Okay, fine. Right. So now, angular displacement. Okay, so here in the translation motion or linear motion, we have represent this as x, and in the rotational motion, which is called as angular displacement. And in the case of translation or rotational, linear motion, we can call it as velocity, and it in the rotational motion, the equivalent term is called as angular velocity, and the acceleration in the linear or translation motion, which is equivalent term in the rotational motion, is angular acceleration. So this I think you already studied. So just I'm briefing how we can be represented a rotational system with equivalent linear or translation motion system. Okay. Now we move to the equivalent mechanical systems. So we are talking about the mechanical systems. Then what is meant by equivalent mechanical systems, which I am going to study now. So equivalent mechanical systems. So when you're drawing the analogous networks, analogous in the sense which are equivalent to analogous networks, then it is, it is better to write this equivalent. Means when I am trying to write the analogous networks in the sense which is in the Fi and as well as EFE analogous networks, we can call it as force current and force voltage analogous networks. When I'm trying to write all this, this analogous networks, before going to write these analogous networks, I need to understand what is meant by equivalent mechanical systems. So once you understand this equivalent mechanical system, then it is easy to write the analogous network systems. means to draw the analogous network system, it is better to understand first equivalent mechanical systems. So that way, these topics we are going to study in the next classes. This FI and FE analogous networks will come in the next classes. So in order to understand these analogous networks or FI and FE analogous networks, I need to understand this equivalent mechanical system. So to draw this equivalent mechanical system, there are steps which you need to follow. I'll write down here. While drawing the analogous networks, due to the applied force, we need to identify the displacement in the mechanical systems. So first and foremost, step one, I'll write as a step one. Okay, I'll write as step one. So what is the step one says is, due to applied force, means as we told that for the mass element, for element of mass, I have applied f of t, right? Force applied, so there is a displacement x of t. So that's what due to applied force. First, you need to identify the displacements in each element. The displacement in the system, in the mechanical system, because as I told that in a single it may be there are 2 masses, 3 masses and 2 springs, 2 dampers, like that. So in any mechanical systems, whatever you take, if I apply a force, and what are the displacements, here the key term is identifying the displacements. So that we need to know in the mechanical system. And once you identify these what you call displacements, next is step 2 is identify the elements. First understand these steps, then we can discuss all this in detail while solving the problems. Okay, first understand the steps. What is the step one is identify the displacements, because if the force is applied, what is the displacement caused due to this mass? Due to this mass, the displacement caused is x of t. Likewise, if any elements present in any particular mechanical system, you need to identify the displacements by each element present in the mechanical system. That is what the first step. So second step, identify the elements which are under influence of different displacements. In the sense, see here there is a displacement here. What is the element under the influence of this displacement is the mass. So this is what we can call it as element. So we need to identify the elements. We need to identify this element which is under displacement, under the influence of displacement. So this element is under the influence of displacement. So that element has to be identified. So here the key thing is identifying the elements. Which are under the influence of displacement. So this is what we can call it as displacement x of t. So which element is under the influence of this displacement? That is called as mass. Mass element is under the influence of this displacement. So that element you need to identify. So first step and second step is only to identify the displacement and identify the elements in the mechanical system which are under the influence of different displacements. Next, coming to the step 3. So importantly, step 3 is displacement. There are, say, for example, x1, x2, x3, like that. If you have in the mass, there are 2 mass elements, then we can have x1 and x2, like that. And if there are 2 spring elements, that is also under the influence of displacement, say x3, x4 like that. So by a separate node, So when I want to develop a mathematical modeling, when I want to develop a mathematical model or set of equations for a mechanical system, we need to follow these steps. We need to follow these steps. So know the physical system, you know the physical system, how, say for example, spring and then say damper and then the mass like this, then this is called, when the force is applied on this is called as a physical system with the elements K, B and M. Okay, system, I'm developing a mathematical equation for this. So in order to develop a mathematical modeling or a set of equation to write this for the physical system, I need to know how to develop a mathematical modeling. So in this case, first step is identify the displacements in the mechanical system, then identify the elements. Then after identifying the elements, then represent each displacement by a separate node, using nodal analysis, we can call it as. This is called as nodal analysis. There are two types of analysis are there. One is the nodal analysis and the base analysis using nodal analysis, because we are using the nodes. You are using the nodes here. When I am talking about here node, when I am talking about here node, means I am using the nodal analysis. So here is very important, node I am using. What term is node I am using? So that's why it's called as using nodal analysis. Right. Next, step 4. This is very simple to develop a mathematical equation for a mechanical system. Once you understand all these steps, then step 4 is show all the elements. You need to show all the elements in parallel which are under the influence of same displacement. Okay, in parallel under the respective nodes which are under the influence of respective displacements. So here I'll when discussing the problem, then we can easily find out what this step says. Respective displacement means under the respect, because we have represented each node, in the what you call displacement. Say for example, mass has having the see, if I have a mass element having the displacement, if I have a mass element, when I apply a force, it has a displacement x of t. So under the influence of, see, this circle is not called as a node. This circle is called as a node. So under this node, what is the element? So all the elements in parallel under the respective nodes. So first I am taking single node here. So node x of t, this is the x of t. Under this x of t, which element is present? That element has to be drawn like this. So this is what a nodal representation or equivalent mechanical system for this kind of a simple element mass. So likewise, we'll do for all the elements. That is the step 4. If the two elements having the same displacement, say for example, if they are connected like parallel, we can say when parallel in the sense, say here, I can represent one equivalent like this, and one more is spring is connected like this, and both are connected to a mass like this. So if you look at this M and B and K here, so when I apply a force F of t, there is a displacement x of t carries, this displacement will be same in all the cases, So show all the elements here is talking about show all the elements in parallel. What does it mean? So how many displacements are there? Only one displacement is there here. Only one displacement, that is x of t. It is equal in all the cases. So in this case, under the influence of x of t, I can connect all the elements. So this is x of t. X of t is one node. I connect m. Okay, I can connect parallelly. This is called as, we can call it as b. Okay, this is b, and they say, for example, this is k. So this is how we can connect parallelly. How we can connect parallelly these three elements in the equivalent mechanical system. This is the physical system. This is the physical system. It is converted to a mechanical system. It is converted to a mechanical system like this. So equivalent mechanical system is this one, means under the influence of displacement. So each displacement has to be represented as a node. This is called as node. This is called as node. So each displacement is represented as a node under the influence of same displacement. So identify, first step is what? Identify the displacement. Yes, we have identified the x of t, and this displacement has to be represented as a node. Next, represent each displacement by separate node. Then we are showing all the elements. We are showing all the elements in parallel. So m and b and k, these three elements undergoes the same influence of displacement. Undergoes the same influence of displacement x of t. That is why under the single node, these three elements are connected parallel to each other. Okay. So this is how we can represent equivalent mechanical system in this case. So this step 4, I think you understood with this example, right? So now last step. So once you write like this diagram, equivalent mechanical system, then the step 5 is very important. Step 5, right? So elements causing the same change in displacement will get connected in parallel in between the respective nodes. Suppose I have taken as a single node here. Suppose in between the nodes, if you have a same displacement, then you need to show it parallel and between nodes. Okay, that is also we discussed with the example. Elements causing same change in displacement will get connected in parallel between nodes. Means I have taken single node. If there's the same case, if it is there between the nodes x1 and x2, then between this x1 and x2 we need to connect parallel. That also I'll show in parallel in between the respective nodes. Okay, so this is a very important way of representing the mechanical system. This is what you can say physical system, which represents a mechanical system, and equivalent mechanical system is this one. Equivalent mechanical in sense on a nodal basis, we can call it as this one. So that we need to, how to get this kind of equivalent mechanical system we are finding, by using these steps. So here, as I told here, say for example, an example I'm taking here, one mechanical system is like this. Say for example, P1, and say for example, this is the spring 1, K1, and these are connected to a mass 1, and of course one more damper B2 is provided here, and then one more spring is provided here, K2 say, and then one more mass is there here, M2, with a different mass and different springs. So when I apply a force, this one is undergoes x1 of t displacement because of the varying the mass and varying the string stiffness. It has the different displacement. That is x2 of 2. Okay. So in between the, see, if you look at here, there are how many displacements are there? There are two displacements. One is the x1 and one is the x2. Under the influence of x1, how many elements are there? If you look at under the influence of x1, we have a B1 and K1 and M1, right? Under the influence of X2, how many you have? You have only M2, only M2. Why? Because this B2, K2 will have the influence of X1 as well as X2. This B2, K2 will have the influence of this and the influence of this. So that is why I have told under the influence of X2, you have only M2, and because of this, both it contains this B2 and K2, so that will be connected. This is the step 5 I'm explaining here, that the X1 and X2, when the elements causing the same change displacement will get connected in parallel between the respective nodes. So what are the respective nodes X1 and X2? So this, what is the displacement causes for the elements of B2 and K2? That is X1 minus X2. So this is the change in displacement. Here these elements causes X1 and this M2 causes with the X2. So here these two elements will causes with X1 minus X2 displacement. X1 minus, because it undergoes the compression and elongation. So X1 minus X2 will be the resultant displacement under the B2 and K2 elements. So those elements to be connected in parallel means like this. Say for example like this. So this is the B element, and say I can say connecting like this, and this is say a K2 element. So this is B2 and K2 elements are connected between the nodes. So under the X1 you can connect B, and you can connect M, and you can connect K1. Sorry, B1, M1 and K1. So all these are connected like this. And under the influence of node X2, we can connect only M2, and then like this. So for the fifth step, I can explain like this. See here, this is the fifth step explanation, and this is the fourth step explanation. How these are connected? How these are connected? So first step is identify the displacements and write as a separate nodes, and then find out the how many. I mean, under the influence of same node, connect it parallel. Then if there are elements which are causing the same change in displacement, will be connected in parallel between the respective nodes by the two nodes if it is causing. So this X1 node and X2 node it is causing, that is the difference in the displacement. So we connect like this. So this is how we can represent the connectivity between the two nodes with the fifth step. So that is, I think, 5 steps we have. In the nodal base, we can call it as node basis, we can call it as node basis. So with this equivalent mechanical system, how we can represent, that we have understood now. So now in the next class we discuss about some of the problems on this mechanical system, so that you can understand easily. Okay, right. So with this I can stop today, and please enter your USN in the chat box. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll have a quiz on this as well as signal flow graph, on this and as well as signal flow graphs. So today we'll leave now. Okay, right. Thank you.